Hey friends, welcome back to Rita Talks. I'm Rita, and on this YouTube channel, I just share some of the thoughts, ideas that I've been thinking about, some of the things that have been going on in my life. And in today's video, I want to talk about an idea that I came across while reading Steve Magness's book, Do Hard Things. And basically, it basically comes from his research that like on high performance athletes about what it takes to be at their best and like to push their own limits and keep going, especially in hard situations that they're facing when their body is breaking down, etc. How do they deal with those hard situations, and how do the top athletes, especially in endurance sports, like how do they manage to accomplish the feats that they do, and how, like, what are their thoughts when they're trying to run really fast, etc. So just to understand what's that process like. And basically he talks about the fact that these athletes, they fluctuate between states of ignoring the pain and not thinking about it and like switching into automatic mode where they're just basically shutting out the pain, and stages where they're actually focusing on the pain. And basically, it's all about how they manage to shift their attention to whichever state would help them the most in that specific moment. And basically, he introduces this idea of narrow and broad attention and how it applies to other domains. And this has resonated with me a lot because basically the specificity of narrow attention is that you obsess over one thing and it's the only thing that you're focused on. And then broad attention allows you to get out of that rumination cycle and basically look for other opportunities, look for creative solutions. So it's always a balancing act between the getting your head down and doing, like, just working towards one specific goal, and then stepping back and looking at the big picture and reassessing your situation, acknowledging that, accepting the pain sometimes, and just understanding that it's just part of the process, and basically contemplating failure, which in, I think, probably sports circles, it's like if you're contemplating failure, then you don't want it hard enough. But basically, he's showing through this work that it's like contemplating quitting is a part of the process of becoming a top performer, because you learn that you have a choice and that it's a privilege for you to be able to do these hard things, and then you appreciate it more, and then you're able to get back to it with an improved focus and improved drive in some sense. And that's definitely something that resonates with me, and I've noticed that actually for me, in the periods that I've been the unhappiest in my life, is when basically I've been over indexed on the narrow part. So the narrow part is critical to getting things done. It's critical to high performance, but it only needs to happen in short bursts. And the reason for that is that this narrow part actually means higher levels of stress, but actually stress is not bad for you. It's constant stress that's bad for you. So short bursts of stress are actually what allow you to get stronger and better. But trying to extend that is what leads to burnout. And being in a constant state of stress, that's what's not good for you, because our bodies are not designed for stress. And so I've noticed that in my life, whenever I'm the unhappiest, is when I'm too focused on something, too dedicated, where basically it starts to not become helpful, and I stop being able to spot other alternative ways to do it, or like creative solutions to do it. And that's why basically I enjoy reading and listening to podcasts so much. It's because they allow me to step back from my day-to-day life, and broaden my view, expand my mental horizons, and expand my vision of what's possible. And that's why basically, like, I enjoy reading and listening to podcasts, and just going for walks and stuff. It's because they allow me to take a step back and think about my life, and reevaluate things, and have that doubt that will allow me to ultimately reach the better answer, the better solution for whichever problem that I'm facing in my life. And basically, the key to high performance is balancing the narrow part with the broad part. And that's tricky because sometimes I do over index on the broad part, whereas probably my limiting factor is the narrow part. But then when I try to over optimize for the narrow part, my limiting factor is that I need to take a step back and look at it from a broad perspective, which will make me change how I perceive the situation, and as a consequence, how I address it or try to solve it. And I also think that this broad and narrow part idea applies to the kind of books that I read. So I've noticed, actually, by like continuing reading this book this morning. So the first part of what I've just talked about, I took some notes about this a few days back when I was reading this part. And actually today I realized that this broad and narrow perspective also applies to the kind of books that I read. Sometimes when I only read tactical, super tactical and practical books, like when I only focus on that, I somewhat get demotivated. I don't feel like reading anymore. And that's when I need to read more broad books that are more memoirs, and books that are not necessarily about getting explicit value from, but just books that allow me to expand my mindset and my perspective, and basically reinforce that I'm on the right path, that that basically what I'm doing is not for nothing, and allow me to see a vision of the future, allow me to believe that it's actually possible, whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish. And so I've also noticed that whenever I focus too much on narrow books, I get very unhappy, and I feel like I'm not making enough progress and I should be doing more, etc. And if you remember, at some point I was trying to read a lot of books about AI and stuff, and basically at some point I was like, okay, I'm over it. I was trying to read them for the video that I still have not published, but I think it's some content that I will either share in a talk, um, or in a video at some point. No pressure, honestly. Like for now, I'm just giving it up, and that's okay. But like when I was really trying to make that video happen, like in that exact moment, and like seeing things in a short-term perspective, it just felt really draining. Whereas it was supposed to be fun because I actually love AI and machine learning. Um, and so that's because I focused too much on narrow books, on only reading about AI and not feeling inspired by other stuff, and not having enough broad books to just help me with my mindset in some sense. And so, yeah, it also goes back to balancing between the broad books that just help with mindset and perspective versus tactical books, which I actually have been reading a lot of, and the same with tactical podcasts. And I've been talking about it lately that trying to avoid tactical podcasts because like I feel like I don't have the mental bandwidth to take in all that there is to take in. And so for now, I'm in a period of my life where I'm not looking for super tactical business podcasts, but I'm just listening to some podcasts about stories and people and relationships and health and stuff like this, which is really helpful to kind of have other stuff to think about than just business and growth and all of this kind of stuff, writing and stuff like this. So yeah, this is an idea that I really liked, and I'm really enjoying this book, Do Hard Things by Steve Magness. I think he's done a good way of presenting the different evidence in like presenting it in a way that's digestible, and in a way that he's building a case. So at the beginning he like proves something and then actually adds extra information to it later on that adds more nuance. And yeah, I've just been really enjoying this book, and I think it's a good thing because it reframes this whole uh, thing about hard things that you know, you should ignore your feelings and just push through. But actually, what makes these athletes great, and whichever high performers great, is that they're actually able to tune in to those feelings and acknowledge them and learn to accept them. And from that acceptance, they're able to learn to navigate them, as opposed to the people who are trying to deny those feelings and somewhat push through. Um, so yeah, it's been a really good book. I definitely recommend you go check it out if that's something that you're into. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about for today. Thanks a lot for tuning in. You can click here to watch my previous video on this channel, so the one right before this one, or you can click here to watch my latest video on the channel overall. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic rest of day, night, whichever time of day it is, where you are right now. Bye for now, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye bye!